Hello and good day everyone, especially to our instructor, Sir Jeffrey Torres. So our group are assigned to discuss the consumptions of resources. So now let us define first what is the meaning of consumption of resources. Resources consumption is about the consumption of non-renewable or less often renewable resources. Specifically, it may refer to water consumption, energy consumption, electric energy consumption. Resource consumption is the use of natural resources such as food and energy, this is very important to us people for our everyday living. So, an overview of global inequalities in the supply and consumption of resources. So, the access to food, water, and energy resources is not shared equally amongst the people of the world. There are massive inequalities where people have different access to resources. In people's access to clean water, reliable energy supplies, and adequate food supplies. The general pattern is for HICS to consume a far higher amount of resources than LICS. We have enough food, fresh water, and energy resources to provide for everyone on our planet, but these resources are not evenly. So now, let us define what is the global inequality. So it refers to differences between people across countries. This may be economic differences between countries as well as medical care and education differences. In this case, we will consider inequalities in food, energy, and water. Since in every country there are different types of way of living, right? So we can deny that we have different economic status. We have differences of our medical care, our education, and the sources of foods, energy, and water. Next is resource supply. So, providing vital items from sources of a natural resources to satisfy human needs and wants such as food, energy, and water. So the resource supply, this is where we get our sources of everyday living, just like for example the foods, the energy, and the water. So the next reporter will discuss more about this matter.
So this is the continuation of the consumption of resources. So resource consumption is the use of natural resources such as food, energy, and water. So resource consumption is the use of our natural resources that we take it as everyday, like food, energy, and water. So global inequalities in the supply and consumption of food. Throughout sub-Saharan Africa, there are countries where the number of calories is too low to sustain good human health. This is known as undernourishment. In some HICs like the UK, the kilocalorie intake is actually too high and has led to an obesity or epidemic. So there is global inequalities in the supply and consumption of food like the sub-Saharan Africa. So there is the number of calories that is too low to sustain. So it related in human health. So it is the undernourishment. So as you can see, the map of daily kilocalorie consumption per person 2006 to 2008. So here is the kilocalorie consumption sa every person nga nagpuyo didto. So there are colors in map that symbolize. So in white 2000, and there is also a 2000 to 2499, and pink is 2500 to 2999, and there's also 3000 to 3299, and in the red is 3300 plus, and the black is no data. Global inequalities in the supply and consumption of water. So in water, which is one of the resource where human life are used. Water is very essential to human life. Although our planet has abundant water over its surface, or 70%, only 2.5% of it is fresh. So the rest is saline and ocean-based. Of that fresh water, just 1% of is easily accessible, with much of it trapped in the glaciers and snow fields. So there is also a global inequalities in the supply of consumption of water. Though our planet has abundant of water, and it's 70%, but it's only 2.5% ang fresh or presko nga mainom. So ang uban ana is dili na pwede imnon. So it's just only 1% of that is easily accessible. Okay, so a water footprint can be calculated to compare the consumption of water in different places. This includes visible water use, such as water for drinking, cooking, and washing, but also less visible uses of water used for growing our food and for making our clothing, cars, or computers. The less visible use of water can often contribute and the biggest portion of the water footprint. So, the other member of this group will continue to report about the consumption of resources. So that's all my report about it. Thank you and God bless.
Okay, so good day everyone. So this is the continuation of the report of Mary Joy, which is my group mate. So let's proceed to global inequalities in supply and consumption of water. Okay, so water is essential to human life. Although our planet has abundant water over its surface, 70%, only 2.5% of it is fresh. The rest is saline and ocean based. Of that fresh water, just 1% of it easily accessible, with much of it trapped in glaciers and snow fields. So we all know that water consumption is very important. The supply of water consumption is very important to us human, which is we can't survive without water. So there are abundant of water over our planet. So there's 70% of water, but there are only 2.5% of it is fresh, which is the fresh water mo na atong ginainom, ginakaligo, ginagamit sa lungag for everyday living, and dako ang percent nga kuan siya na inline siya sa ocean. So mga salty water. So of that fresh water is just 1% is accessible, and napuy uban nga mga water nga na-trap sila sa glaciers and snow fields. So tungod na sa mga snow nga makuan kanang mugahi siya, so ang mga uban nga water na-trap siya sa ilalom. A water footprints can be calculated to compare the consumption of water in different places. This includes visible water, such as water for drinking, cooking, and washing, but also less visible uses of water used for growing our foods and for making our clothing, cars, and computers. The less visible uses for water can often contribute the biggest portion of the water footprint. So, there are different places or different ways nga atong ginagamit ang ato ang water. So ginagamit nato ang water para makainom ta, for our cooking, mangkuan ta, manlaba, just and sa atong pagkaligo. And there are also water nga atong ginabubo sa mga bulak, in different ways nga magamit nato ang tubig, no? So the UK's water footprint is 3,400 liters per person per day, while in Bangladesh it is just 2,100 liters per person per day. So, naiuban mga countries, especially in this country nga, they are scarcity kill no sa ilaha, and the lack of water supply ang uban nga country. So, na dinhi nga as you can see in the map, the little or no water scarcity kuan, the violet one. Okay, so sila ng mga gamay ra, little or no water scarce, wala sila nagkinahanglan sa more supply ra sila sa water. And the red one, physical water scarcity, so kanang mga red diha nga mga countries muna good sila ang nanginahanglan jud sa water, like gamay ra ang supply sa water sa ilaha, ang kuan kanang budget ang ilaha nga water. So, and the pink one, approaching physical water scarcity, so kanang may kuan lang kanang may nag-supply lang sa ilaha og water, like inana. And the orange one, economic water scarcity, so they are economically kanang kulang jud sila sa water. And the other one is not estimated, so wala na estimate ng uban. So other countries, so we are blessed here in the Philippines nga diri ta nagpuyo kay we have abundance of water, no, muna ang uban usik-usikan na lang ang water, but we don't know nga aduna po yung mga kapwa or kapareha nato nga every individual nga nagpuyo sa ubang bansa nga they are lack of water, luoy kaayo. The map shows countries that are suffering from water scarcity. Yes, so nakita nato sa map nga ang uban nga country nagsuffer sila sa water nga kakulangon. Physical water scarcity is when countries do not have enough water due to the climatic reasons and other physical reasons, such as northern Mali in the Sahara Desert. Economic water scarcity is where a country has water but does not have the economic means to access it, as in part of Afghanistan. So, luoy kayong mga tao nga nagpuyo sa desert area, no? Kay they are kanang kulang sila sa mga water nga ilang panginahanglan everyday. And also naasad oy country nga. There are also country nga na sila yung mga water supply, pero ang ilang nga economic access is kulang og action for them to deliver their water supply. So as you can see here, there is also a map. And let's proceed. Energy resources are also unequal, as the consumption of energy varies hugely across the globe. According to the International Energy Agency, the richest country in the world of around 1 billion people consume 50% of the world's energy, while the poorest 20% consume only 4%. These patterns are clear on the energy consumption map. So, nasab oy unequal energy resources because there are according to the international agency nga the richest country in the world, around 1 billion people, consume only 50% of world's energy, and the poorest is 20% consume only 4%. So kanang nausab oy unequal sa energy resources nga atong makonsume And the overall pattern is that as populations become wealthier, they have increased access to their basic resources and consume more. This means that as countries become wealthier over time, they can expect their populations to consume more natural resources. So, nakita nato din sa overall pattern that kung ang population or ato'y butang in that country become wealthier, so syempre ang population nga nagpuyo din is um, they have increased access sa basic resources such as water, food, energy, and more. This means nga anang usa ka country nga mahimo nga wealthier over time. So nag-expect jud na silang ang population nga nagpuyo dinha is maka-consume jud silang panginahanglan sa sa basic needs sa natural resources nga ilang kinahanglan. So, um, as you can see in this map, so the world's development according to the World Bank GNI classification. So, kung makita niyo ang green nga mga map din or countries, that has the high income countries. So, dagko nag mga income diha nga country. And sa violet one, upper middle income countries. So, like dako-dako gyapon ang ilang nga income diha nga countries. And the yellow one, lower middle income countries, kanang dili ra kayo dako ang ilang income din nga countries. And the red one is low income countries. So kanang nga red one kanang gamay ra ang income nya siguro mahal ang palaliton sa ilang ng um, resources. So like diha pud nato makita nga unequal. So that's all for my report, and my other group mates will continue. Thank you.
As you can see in the picture, there is a map of world development according to the World Bank's GNI classification. The reasons for varying consumption of the resources are: number one, access. Some countries have more natural resources than others, and if the resource is evenly shared, all can benefit. This is not always the case, however. Number two, the quantity. How much of a natural resource does a country or population have? If it is in short supply, do they have the means to overcome that? For example, water is in short supply in the Dubai, but it is building desalination plants to help it cope. Number three, level of wealth. How much money does a place have? The wealthier a place, the more options the country has to combat any shortage in key resources. This can be seen in the table below. Number four, level of technology and infrastructure. Here, here we need to consider if the country has the technology to deliver energy, water, and food to its people. The UK has a tiny percentage of its population producing food, about 1%, yet can produce nearly 60% of the nation's needs. Some countries do not have water purification plants or enough power station capacity. Number five, standard of living of population. The higher this is, the more the population expects to get in terms of clean water, energy use, and food consumption. The last one is diet. This can influence how many calories are taken in and what foods are eaten. A meat-rich diet would be harder for a country to provide for.